Well, good morning again, rail fans. Back for part 2 of the lumberyard. Jerry, you were asking yesterday how I planned on getting rid of the concrete around the plaster around all the rails with a knife and being very, very careful. I just start out, lay the knife blade right next to the rail, and very carefully follow the inside of the rail. And what I'll do is progressively get a little wider as I do this. But for the time being, we use just a standard backside of an X-Acto blade and get the groove started. But you do have to be very careful with this and slow. If you try to go too fast, you're going to end up getting areas that you don't really want to screw up on. Of course, if you do screw up, you can go back and just add a little bit of plaster to it and fill it back in again. But we don't want to do that if we don't have to. And you do have to make sure that the plaster is at least starting to set up. You don't want to do this on totally wet plaster. The drier the better, but for the time being this is still just a little bit wet, but not all that much. And eventually what I'll do here is make probably 2 passes with the knife blade, let it set for a little bit, and then come back with a wider tool. Just try to get enough room for the wheel flanges is all you're really trying to do. But that's about all we're going to do here for the time being. We'll let this set a little bit longer, and then we'll come back and we'll make a couple more passes. So we will continue here shortly. Hey. Meanwhile, off camera here, I made a couple more passes with the X-Acto knife, and I went with the wider blade and my box cutter. And at the moment, I've made a couple passes with this fancy tool here, which I bought, I think, at the dollar store. Came with 4 or 5 of them. It's supposed to be used for smoothing plastic out when you use plastic fillers. Different ways to do it. But it's just a little bit wider than what the blades are. So once you do put it in here, widens that groove out just a little bit each time. And you just run that right on down. Keep in mind too that if your plaster kind of gets a rough look on the edges, that's perfectly normal because concrete's not perfect to start with. And the pounding of the wheels against this rail all the time it's going to tend to want to chip some of the concrete away. So if you do get some chips in there, it's perfectly normal. And adds a little bit of prototypical appearance to it. Once you go down here half a dozen times or so, it's a good idea to go ahead and vacuum the area out good. To get all the little chips and pieces away, which we'll do here real quick. And you want to keep one of your cars on the track so that we can run along here and see what we sound like or how we're doing here. We do need to go a little bit wider on this. And just keep in mind, keep trying different tools until you get the result you're looking for. It is a slow process. You don't want to try to rush this. You rush this, you're going to screw up. And keep in mind too that once you are done, you're going to have to run a bright boy across this track. I don't like bright boys very much, but you do need to make sure you get all the plaster off the rail heads. Which is why the bright boy is here. And if you look, you can actually see where your plaster is sitting on top of the rail heads. One more time here with the noisemaker. Now let's see what we look like. Oh yeah, I think that got it. Now what we'll do here is let this dry real good. Then we'll come back and we'll throw a coat of paint on. And we're going to change this from the asphalt look to concrete look. Paint the whole thing in here concrete, do our landscaping out here on the end, and I think we'll be good to go. It'll just be reposition all the buildings. So we'll bring you back once we get it all painted up. Thanks for watching so far. More to come. Okay guys, told you I'd bring you back when we got the first coat of paint on. And that's all we've got on here is one coat of paint. We do have some areas here that need a little bit of work. We're kind of scarred up in here. We'll do a little bit of sanding on that, a little bit of filling in later on. And down in here we got a nice little crack in there. So we'll get rid of all of that after this coat of paint dries, and then throw the second coat of paint down. So we'll bring you back after that happens. But we are progressing. This may wind up being 3 parts by the time I'm done, but that's okay. We'll catch y'all later. Thanks for watching. Okay, what you're looking at here is painted after 2 coats of paint. Pretty well dried up. Now it's time to throw a little bit of grass down here where there used to not be any. And blend it in with the grass that's already there. So, just throw the old Elmer's glue down here. Stretch it on out there a little bit. And grab an acid brush. Say acid brush because that's what these things are. Cheapies, you can wash them out or you can throw them away. Pick them up at Harbor Freight. Usually about, I think it's 50 of them in a package. And they're under $5, or right around $5 a package. So you can't complain about the price. A lot of them I'll wash them out, wash the glue out of them. Dry them out, use them again. This is only the first layer I'll put down here. We might even throw some static grass down here later on when I get some, because I'm out. But for the time being, this will get us going and get it all blended back together again. Eventually, as soon as I can find some on one of the sites, get some chain link fence to go all the way around here. Throw a couple of gates in. Take a mixture of my grasses and everything else. This is just kind of a mix of everything that I've had left over. As it dries out tomorrow, I'll take the shop vac. I'll put an old sock on the end of it so that as I suck it up, it collects in the sock and it's not all wasted. We'll go back into right back into the jar again. You probably noticed though in the video there that there are some lines, indentations, only because of the way this stuff is made. But once it's weathered up, the buildings get in there, you don't even pay attention to it, you don't even see it. So here shortly, see where we got everything dug out along the rail heads, and everything will roll right in, roll right back out again. After I know everything is dry, like tomorrow I'll take a pencil eraser and just polish up the rail heads a little bit more than what they are, and we'll take care of it. And I think this is going to make it a little more realistic. We do have to put some ballast back in along here, and I think we'll pretty well take care of things. So that'll do for this section here. Think of, well, let me see. Let's put some buildings in here and see what we look like. See how we can get these arranged in here and where this is going to look decent. Actually, for the most part, you're going to be viewing this from over there, because eventually there will be a backdrop along here. So what we may do here is let's take the camera around to that side, and you'll be able to see a little better on how we're going to look. Hang tight here a minute.